The Chamber has been a strong supporter of the 2006 Regional Transportation Authority and the process and projects that have resulted from it. Simply stated, it's all about roads, mobility, and economic development. We must have strong road connectivity and well-maintained roads for business retention, expansion, and recruitment. Overall, multimodal transportation infrastructure, in addition to all infrastructure, must be prioritized at the top of every local official's list. The Chamber requires transparency in government spending, and RTA projects have been constructed on time and under budget with the level of transparency we think should be a part of all major government spending programs. With $2 billion in additional construction, and especially maintenance needs, we must build and pass another regional transportation plan to address our current and future needs.
So yes, to the will we work with the county and surrounding municipalities. There are 9 jurisdictions in the PAG, and this is the reason that when you put the yes or no, do you support the RTA in that questionnaire you sent out, I didn't answer it. It's not a yes or no question. It's a conversation that involves 9 different jurisdictions. So here's the deal. We have nearly a 20-year-old regional policy, and I think it can justify having a facelift. That does not mean that you blow it up and you walk away from it. It means that you have an adult level conversation with each of the members of that jurisdiction, each of the members of the PAG. We've seen some significant inequities since 2006, but I believe they can be addressed. We have about $280 million of City of Tucson projects that are left unfinished as we enter the last quarter of the first RTA. And as we have the conversation about RTA next, that has to be addressed. We have to make sure that since the City of Tucson is both the #1 participant in terms of population base and tax base, that's reflected in how the voting goes forward, whether it's a weighted voting, some sort of a hybrid model such as they have up in Maricopa County. I'm not locked in on a particular modality for that, but weighted voting following the MAG model may make sense, and it should make sense. I believe that we have to have flexibility built into what the rollout of the projects look like right now. And I'll reference the Broadway corridor. That turned into a completely unnecessarily elongated fight once we recognized that the traffic projections, which were 20 years old by the time we got around to pre-construction on Broadway, were outmoded and they were not being borne out. People aren't getting around the same way they used to. We did not need a 150-foot wide 8-lane corridor that was going to take out over 100 businesses on the north side of the corridor. And yet the CART committee said that no, we have to do exactly what we said on the ballot. Well, we had as many of you know, a fairly contentious exchange over a series of 2 or 3 years. And we skinnied that up a little bit now. And I think we're making lemonade out of that. And with the Sunshine Mile overlay, we did skinny it up to about 124 feet instead of 150, and we saved most of those businesses. And now we're on the cusp of passing a Sunshine Mile overlay, which validates the need for flexibility. And we're going to preserve those businesses. We're going to have inclusive zoning. We're going to incentivize, with the help of Rio Nuevo, the preservation of a lot of those small local businesses. Pavement preservation has to be a part of RTA Next. It's not a part of the current model. The allocation of the dollars, I believe, also should mirror the participation of the jurisdictions. When they sent us the list of the request for a project list, us being the city, they told us that you need to cap that at $600 million, as every other jurisdiction and participant does as well. The City of Tucson should have a greater participation level in terms of the number of projects and the value of projects than, say, Marana or South Tucson, simply because of the economic impact or in the participation we have in the PAG. Categorical areas, the safety, the multimodal components, the environmental components. These are pieces that aren't defined right now in the conversation. And I think we need to hone those down as well. So, and finally, as I'm kind of thinking through this, finally, there was a conversation about a regional committee determining what projects went on the ballot for the city of Tucson. I would argue that the city of Tucson should not be determining what projects Marana puts on the ballot, nor should Marana or Oro Valley determine what city of Tucson projects should go on. We're the ones who are hearing from our constituents, and we shouldn't be telling the Marana Town Council what they're hearing from their constituents. So there are a lot of moving pieces to that. I think it's all fixable. I think it's all resolvable. But we all have to be willing to come and have the conversation at the table saying, look, the current RTA is 20 years old. Any piece of policy that's 20 years old can stand a facelift. And as I said at the beginning, that doesn't mean you blow it up and walk away from it, but it does mean that you look at what worked and what didn't work and fix those things that didn't work going forward. Because if we're going to put this on the ballot again, we have to do it one for all and all for one. And if the city of Tucson feels that we're getting the short end of that stick again, and we can't with a straight face recommend to our voters that we put it on the ballot, then the thing's going to fail. So we have to have that adult level conversation. That's the reason I didn't say yes or no on your question.
So let me just tell you, this is y'all's fault. I was much more eloquent the first time. I'm going to try to maintain that. But where I'm at really is in the spirit of collaboration. Yes, I'm going to work with the other folks. I am planning to renew, but yes, and I need to advocate for my neighborhoods and neighborhood streets. And so really it's going to be that duality of working with Pima County and the existing sittings, but also working with folks in Sierra Vista, Nogales, our region, because we really just need to focus on our region and be very holistic for the future of Tucson, but also the future of our region. That's where it touches my platform of home, housing, opportunity, mobility justice, and environmental justice. How do we focus on mobility and environment through a very intentional planning process that touches our adjacent cities, because we want them to spend their dollars in Tucson. I remember growing up in Sierra Vista, we were in Tucson every weekend. We were using Tucson roads. We were investing in Tucson infrastructure. And so for me, yes, Tucson needs to be the leader in this process, but we also have to do it through a center of equity. We have to understand our proximity to our sister cities, brother cities, non-gendered cities, I'm sorry. But we just need to understand our proximity and our place in this region.
So the first of the 5 questions, which I'll ask you right now, is where do you stand on the reauthorization of the RTA? Since the RTA model is a county-wide initiative, would you work with the county and surrounding municipalities? If so, what does that look like?
In everything that I approach, I really take a collaborative perspective. And so it's very important to bring folks to the table and to explore the ways that we can work together on shared goals. And I think that there's an area of opportunity here with the RTA Next, and really thinking about a way of regional transportation planning that serves communities in a more inclusive way, and is more supportive of working families and folks without a lot of money. And so I think, the city and the county certainly have the opportunity here to collaborate and to be really strategic and to take the long view and really understand that we're facing really big challenges and we need to plan for the future. And what the future looks like if folks continue coming to this region is not every single person by themselves in one car driving everywhere they need to go. It's just not sustainable. So we need to be exploring innovative ways to meet the need for better public transportation that's actually usable and timely. Like when I first moved to Tucson, I was taking the bus from Pie Allen neighborhood over to Desert Vista campus, and it's 2 transfers in about an hour and a half each way. And it was a great way to see the city and a great way to just sort of think about the people getting on the bus, getting off the bus, and looking at South 6 going by me and just seeing so much diversity and vibrancy. But also thinking like, I have the time to do this, but this isn't practical for a lot of people. I can't tell people to take the bus. Like, it's not going to work for a lot of lifestyles. So more innovative public transportation options, more sustainability just built into everything that we're doing. I think that certainly there's plenty of research and evidence that shows that road widenings, like large scale road widenings, really aren't addressing the problem and actually alleviating traffic problems. It's akin to loosening your belt to address obesity. Like it induced demand is a really interesting thing that I read about. that's not going to help us either with congestion. We don't want to end up like Austin and feel like there's too many people here. We didn't build our infrastructure out to support the future. So, you know, there's a local organization called Families United Gaining Accessibility, and they have a petition out right now about some specific things that they would like to see in RTA next. And I definitely support that. I think that I would support RTA if we could meaningfully address what communities have been asking for a long time, which, you know, better bicycle and pedestrian connectivity, and especially accessibility if you need mobility devices, public transportation, and getting away from these large road widening projects.
With that, the way that I've seen it, because majority of the population in the county, it's city of Tucson, but it's not weighed evenly, I guess, in my opinion, because we carry the majority of the population, but we only get that one vote. I think the restructuring of it so that the city of Tucson or the more populated areas kind of get representation that way versus, you know, a single vote for the different municipalities in that surrounding areas. I think I was reading something that Tucson was like 542,000. You know, Regina had, you know, 542,000 people she represents, whereas the town of Marana had, I think it was like 42 or 52,000 people. Then, you know, and that's just kind of an offset as far as percentage of the population. So I think if it's restructured more towards the population, I think it would be more fair to continue.